Hello again. My name is Aaron Gauthier. I'm judge of the 53rd Circuit Court here in Sheboygan and Presque Isle counties in beautiful northern Michigan. This is our next video in the Ask the Judge series. I had a couple questions about our drug court program. Some of the questions were about how can we extend this program to habitual felons, people that have lengthy criminal records, or people that have committed a number of crimes when they're in front of the court. And you can see all this on the videos when you watch people entering a plea or being sentenced into the drug court program. One question, quite frankly, asked, how is this safe for the community? So I thought I would do a video to explain how this program works and why it is that we do what we do, what the goals are, and why it is a safe option for the community. Sheboygan County has had a drug court program since 2009, when it was started by my predecessor judge. And the program targets high-risk, high-needs offenders with serious substance use problems. But violent offenders or sexual predators are excluded from the program. One of the things that we try to look at as a team is if you could help this person overcome the substance abuse problem in their lives, would they be a productive member of society, or would they still be a criminal person who's harming people in society? Of course, that's difficult to predict, and there are some objective factors that we look at for whether somebody qualifies for the program. But the point is that we don't take people in that present an unreasonable risk of danger to the public or the community. It's a program that's designed to help people who, as I said, are high risk, high needs. What that means, high risk, means there's a high risk that they will recidivate or that they will commit more crimes, and that they have high needs, lots of areas in their life that need attention. This is an intensive program. It's based on a team approach. It involves not just me as the judge, but we have the prosecutor is a member of the team. A member of the local defense bar is on our team. A substance abuse treatment provider is on the team, as well as a Department of Corrections probation officer, our drug court, our case manager, my court administrator, a law enforcement officer is on our team to bring that perspective, and a compliance officer. So there's all these different voices with different perspectives on the team, and they each contribute their own thoughts. And we have a frank discussion about each participant, each applicant, and each participant, and how to manage them as they go through the program. The program is centered on substance abuse treatment with strict drug and alcohol testing to monitor compliance. And it's to hold these offenders accountable to their goals of getting clean and sober. We give them incentives to reward accomplishments and achievements, and we give them sanctions or punishments when they violate program rules or when they relapse. And so it is not an easy program on them. We make them jump through a whole lot of hoops, go to AA meetings or some other similar structured support group meetings, Smart Recovery or Celebrate Recovery or anything like that. They have to attend substance abuse treatment, individual and group. They're subject to drug and alcohol testing randomly, and it's usually several times a week. Curfews, home checks, curfew checks, employment requirements, community service requirements if they're not employed. These are very strict standards in the program. And we have recently changed the name of the program to Recovery Court, as I think I mentioned, to be more forward-looking, to focus on the goal and where our participants are headed if they continue on the right path. We have had, over the life of the program, many people who have graduated the program and many who have been terminated unsuccessfully. It is not an easy program for people to complete. It's a minimum of about 1.5 years if they sail through without any violations. And most people have some problems. We take, as I said, high risk and high needs offenders. So the participant who sails through with no violations is the exception rather than the rule. So most of them are in for 2 years or longer. We have some people who've been in the program for about 1.5 years, and they're still, frankly, early in the program. We've worked with them for quite some time. We sometimes have to send them to a residential treatment program or even to a longer term residential program downstate. We work with some people in that regard too. So these offenders are carefully and closely and regularly monitored. On regular probation, you won't see a judge unless you violated. In our recovery court program, when you're on probation in recovery court, in the first phase of the program, you will see me every week. You'll come into court and we'll have a discussion about how you're doing, and the whole team will be here. And then we have 5 phases to the program, and it steps down where over time, by the time someone's in their 5th and final phase, they'll only come and see me once a month. But especially in the early phases, we are involved in their lives on a weekly basis, and some members of our team, the probation and case manager, are involved with them on a daily basis, the compliance officer, in their homes, with them in treatment, the treatment provider. So there's a lot of points of contact with these offenders. And the point is to try to help them address the substance abuse problems in their life, get to a point where they can be clean and sober. We have had, over the life of the program, 66 people who have graduated successfully from the program. There have been 79 who have been unsuccessfully removed. So as you can see, fewer than half successfully complete the program. It is a tough program to complete. Those that do complete the program do very well. The state tracks recidivism, or whether people repeat their offenses. And there are, of course, many ways you can track this. One measure that they look at is for a 3-year period after someone's done with probation or prison or parole, have they committed a new crime? And the state tracks these folks by what they call matched pairs. They match a graduate with an offender who is similarly situated in terms of race, gender, age, criminal history, region of the state, who did not participate in a drug treatment court. This way, you can come the closest you can to comparing apples to apples. By that standard, our recovery court graduates are some really good apples. Statewide, 22% of non-participants, 22% are convicted of a new crime within the first 3 years of being outside of court involvement. Statewide, if people have graduated from a treatment court program, that's cut by more than half. 10% will commit a new crime within 3 years. That's a great return on investment. But for our matched pairs, the comparison is even better. The numbers that we got from last year from the state tell us that 32% of the non-participants who are matched pairs reoffend within 3 years. But for our Sheboygan County Recovery Court graduates, 3% commit a new crime within the first 3 years. In other words, comparing offenders who are truly comparable, apples to apples, successful completion of our program reduces recidivism by one important measure, the 3-year benchmark, by a whopping 91%. And we continue to have contact with many of these graduates over the years. Some of them, I won't give you their names, but if I did, those of you in our community might know them. You might know them as an employer, or as a good employee, or as a neighbor or friend or church member or volunteer. These people have invested the effort to become law-abiding and contributing members of our community, and they have managed to overcome their substance abuse problems, and they continue in a state of what they call sustained recovery. So the program is designed not just for the individual benefit of these participants, but for the community, because as I said, the data shows that it reduces recidivism. These programs have been in existence in Sheboygan County for more than a decade, around the country for more than 30 years, and the numbers are similar everywhere you look. Drug court programs, sobriety court programs, veterans treatment court programs, mental health treatment court programs. These are all under the umbrella of what's called problem-solving courts. And it's an innovative, intensive, team-based approach to get really involved in an offender's life to try to help them solve the problems that brought them into the criminal justice system. And these programs work. The Michigan Supreme Court provides an annual report. You can access it online. I'll see maybe if I can even link it in the comments, that reviews these programs on a statewide basis. And the fact of the matter is they work. They're primarily grant funded. There are significant contributions by local funding units typically, and Sheboygan County is no exception to that. But it's much cheaper than regular court, because I can tell you as a taxpayer, you'd be interested to know, every time you see me on video sentencing somebody to the state prison, it costs the taxpayers $32,000 for every year that person's in prison. If I sentence them to a year in the county jail, it costs more than $10,000. That's a lot of money. And so for many of these drug offenders, if it's a crime that's rooted in addiction, I can send them to prison for 3 years. It'll cost you, the taxpayer, almost $100,000 for me to do that. And people rarely get better by being in prison. So they will be released. They will come home in about 3 years, and they will continue to cause problems in the community. The recidivism rates are quite high from people coming out of prison. If instead, for a smaller investment of money and a much more labor-intensive investment of time by a team approach, many of the team members volunteer their time. They don't make extra money to be part of our program. We can help that person overcome those problems and become contributing members of the community. That's better not only for the offender, it's better for you, the taxpayer, and it's better for you, the community member. So we do these things not to be lenient on felony criminal offenders, but to make the community a safer place, to help treat addiction-based crimes differently than criminal-based crimes, if that makes any sense. There are some people, sadly, in our community, in every community, that are just persistently cause serious harm to other people. These are not those cases. We're bringing in people who have addictions, and those addictions drive them to desperate situations where they're committing thefts, or they're causing some harm related to their addiction. And we can solve those problems through the drug treatment court model. And when people unsuccessfully are terminated from the program, well, then the only tool left in the toolbox is the standard jail and prison. We have seen over the years, by the way, many of the people who've been unsuccessfully terminated come back into the community once they're paroled, and they sometimes they have learned some benefits while they were in the recovery court program, and they even have some benefits and can get on a better path that way. What else to say about the recovery court program? Well, here's an example, just a story. Last summer, we had our 50th successful graduate. That graduate had been in prison 5 times. He'd been in jail many times before that, all over the country in his lifetime. He'd spent 35 years abusing drugs and alcohol. Jail, probation, prison 5 times, parole, every tool in the criminal justice toolbox. And it didn't work. And he stood before this court again on a felony drunk driving case, facing years in prison again. And but he got a second chance. Well, 17th chance perhaps, right? But he got a chance in the recovery court program, and he put in the work. The program doesn't change anybody. It gives people an opportunity and a framework for them to do the work to make the changes in their life, to be a contributing member of society. At his graduation, he said this is a direct quote from him. "I put my family through hell, put my wife through hell, put myself through hell. I had a delayed life. I had no future, no hopes, no dreams, no anything, just existing. You don't have to just exist. You can live. You can change your life." The last time he got in trouble, he was sure he was going back to prison and his wife would finally leave him. But he said at his graduation, quote, "God had mercy on me and the court had mercy on me. They let me be in this program." He gave some advice to his fellow participants. Quote, "I've seen a lot of people see this program as a punishment. It's the farthest thing from it. It's a blessing. Take advantage of it, use it, change your life. You don't have to continue living in the state you were living in. Sobriety is a wonderful thing, and you can change. And he did, and he's a contributing member of our local community today. And so my message is that this program does not make the community less safe. It makes the community more safe. It's a more effective use of taxpayer resources. It's an approach that gives addicts more dignity and recognizes their potential. And it involves various members of the criminal justice system. And it is not easy. It holds these participants, these felony offenders, to strict account. And most of them are angry with me at some point during the program because we're being hard on them. And I think you expect us to be hard on them, and we are. But we give them a framework to succeed. So I hope that answers many questions about that program. If you have any more specific questions about our Recovery Court program, please put them in the comments. I'd be happy to do some follow-up videos to talk about this. I'm very passionate about this program. I think it's fantastic. I think that courts around the country that have these programs are fantastic. It's a better way to handle addiction-based crimes than what we did for years. Courts tried in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, the lock them up and throw away the key approach. There was even life without parole for certain drug offenses in Michigan. Long terms of probation, long terms of prison. And guess what? Those did not solve the drug problem. We'll never solve the drug problem. So we have to help people get out of it. Treatment is a better approach. And there are laws against drug possession and drug delivery. And we'll enforce those laws. We'll apply those laws in the court system. But as much as we can incorporate a treatment model rather than a punishment model, it's not only a more humane recognition of what's really going on in these people's lives, it's also a smarter use of tax dollars, and it gets better results in terms of recidivism and community safety. So it's not a soft on crime approach, it's a smart on crime approach. And for any of you who are watching this that either yourself or your family members or friends or loved ones are struggling with addiction, there are lots of resources for help. You don't have to wait until you're caught up in a criminal case to take advantage of programs like this. You can't be in our Recovery Court program unless you're in court. Reach out to local resources, treatment providers, Families Against Narcotics chapters, Harbor Hall in Northern Michigan, Catholic Human Services, Thunder Bay Health. There are so many resources that are available to help you get on a path of recovery. And if you do, you'll never regret it. So I've gone on too long about this program. You can tell I cared a lot about it. Ask some questions in the follow-up questions in the comments, and I'll try to address them with some follow-up videos that I promise will be shorter. So take care, and I will see you in court.